They don't see it. They think the storm is the bills piling up, the arguments, the sleepless nights. But heaven is whispering, this is not about what you can see. This is about an invisible war over your identity. You've been bleeding in silence while smiling in public. And God is speaking not to the chaos outside, but to the fracture lines no one else can touch. This is not just a rough season. This is spiritual, not circumstantial. Your bank account, your health, your relationships, those are just decoys. The real storm is the assignment launched against your mind, the slow poison meant to cloud your discernment, the voice that tries to convince you your destiny is an illusion. And yet, some of this storm didn't even start with you. It's generational. You've been fighting battles your grandparents never won, carrying weights placed on your bloodline before you took your first breath. But I hear the decree heaven says, it ends now, not by your strength, but by the covenant you never signed but were born into. Don't mistake pruning for punishment. God has been cutting away what cannot follow you into your next season. You thought he was tearing your life apart, but he was removing the rot before it touched the roots. And yes, there's been silence, prayers unanswered, dreams delayed, not because he forgot you, but because he's shifting you to a deeper frequency where his voice still speaks. The turbulence? That's not random. It's the pressure of your spiritual rank increasing. The enemy has read the orders, and he knows you're about to step into authority you've never walked in before. Some of the shaking is heaven severing counterfeit alignments. People, systems, habits that wore the mask of support but fed off your anointing. They had to go, because what's coming is too pure to be handled with unclean hand. And this is why your voice has been under attack. Because when you speak in truth, chains don't just fall off you, they fall off everyone listening. Hell fears the sound of you fully awake. You've been calling it suffering. God calls it training. This was the final proving ground before he hands you the keys to the territory that once shut its gates in your face. And hear this. It may end in the spirit before you see it in the natural. Heaven's victory report has already been signed. The clouds will break. The rain will stop. But your faith must hold the line until what's been decreed above breaks through below. The storm is almost over, but the you who walks out of it will not be the same one who walked in. Pressure is a revealer. Like dye moving through cracks, it seeps into hidden fractures you didn't know were there. Suddenly, motives take on sharp contrast. That quiet resentment, that subtle rivalry, now you see it in full color. Because the storm doesn't just shake things, it illuminates them. This is your warning. Pay attention to who assumes access they were never given. Storms draw out the ones who bypass boundaries, who make decisions in your name, who speak for you as if you've authorized their voice. Unauthorized access under pressure is not love, it's a signature of concealed opposition. And here's the prophetic discernment. Loyalty has a cost. True allies pay it. Pretenders perform. In the storm, watch for those who offer soothing words but no action, who say, I'm here for you, yet never show up with time, skill, or sacrifice. That's not care, it's parasitic alignment wearing empathy like a mask. Then comes the narrative war. When the wind is loud and your footing is unsure, hidden enemies rush to seize the story. They explain you to others. They leak your private valleys. They frame your setback as your nature. Whoever competes to narrate you intends to manage you. That is not innocent, that is spiritual positioning. Watch for the bait, because storms bring out shortcuts, shady partnerships, and urgent rescues with invisible strings attached. The source of the bait will always reveal the saboteur, someone trying to turn your vulnerability into their leverage. And here's a law from Haven. Contracts look loyal until the heat rises. Covenants deepen when tested. If someone weaponizes technicalities, invoices, or fine print against you in crisis, you've just found a transactional heart masquerading as family. Follow the supply lines. Track what actually flows toward you. Information, opportunity, prayer, protection. If resources are plentiful around you but your line runs dry, it's not an accident. It's intentional throttling, engineered by friends who secretly prosper from your lack. And some of the most dangerous attacks come disguised as prayer. Inverted intercession. They say they're praying for you, but every word predicts failure, not breakthrough. That's not intercession, it's spiritual scripting. An enemy act in church clothes. Beware the Judas protocol. The most dangerous antagonists need proximity, not distance. In the storm, they ask for private meetings, press for updates, insist on closeness. Because exposure requiert nearness. Judas could not betray from afar. But hear this, heaven is not exposing for the sake of your pain. It's curating a reconfiguration. Once the storm reveals the truth, God begins rerouting. Access levels change. Counterfeites dissolve. Hidden allies emerge. And your next season launches clean, with a circle that can carry the weight of your destiny without cracking it. In the kingdom, nothing is handed to you without proving you can carry it. Crowns are not woven in silk, they are hammered in fire. Every sleepless night, every betrayal, every whispered lie. It was not random, it was coronation training. Your enemies thought they were breaking you down, but in truth, they were shaping the shoulders that would bear the weight of authority. God has been seating you on hidden thrones, invisible to men, visible to heathen. And because you sit there, though no one applauds yet, the enemy has been raging like a storm with no mercy. He senses your ascent before you feel it in your own bones. His goal? To make you abdicate a throne you don't even know is yours yet. But here's the prophetic warning. Hell is economical. It spends nothing on the powerless. If the warfare against you has been costly, relentless, it's because your spiritual jurisdiction is about to stretch further than you've ever imagined. Your territory is expanding, and your name is already being whispered in courts you haven't walked into yet. This is why you had to learn your weapons. Prayer not as ritual, but as sword. Discernment not as suggestion, but as radar. Authority not as theory, but as law written in your mouth. Without the battlefield, you'd hold a crown you couldn't defend. And what heaven gives, you must be ready to guard. Integrity under pressure is the true currency of rulership. You've been watched by angels and adversaries alike to see if you'd bend, if you'd compromise, if you'd sell your birthright for momentary relief. Your refusal has been your certification. This is why heaven trusts you. And if you've been wondering why the attacks have had a pattern, look closer. They have been mapping your realm of influence. If the battle was for your voice, then your words will rule nations. If for your mind, then your ideas will unlock deliverance for many. If for your provision, then your resources will finance kingdom movements. Before God gives you the crown in the open, He runs you through His legitimacy protocol. Opposition is not to break you, it is to qualify you. You are not walking into this reign by chance. You are walking in with proof you cannot be moved. That's why He hid you, delayed your visibility, protected you from premature alliances that would have pulled you into their politics and poisoned your purpose. Now, your foundation is ready for the weight of exposure. Every conflict you've endured has been a language lesson. You now speak the dialect of pain, loss, and resilience, the language the oppressed understand. And because you speak it fluently, you will set captives free with precision, not assumption. And when the storm fully breaks, you will not just have rest, you will inherit the very ground the enemy fought you on. The battlefield will become your territory. The war zone will become your jurisdiction. And the land once stained with your tears will fly the banner of your victory. Some blessings are not safe in the wrong hands. They act like amplifiers, turning whispers into roars. If the wrong people stand too close when it comes, your gift won't just bless it, will magnify their hidden corruption. And instead of multiplying your purpose, it will multiply their poison. So heaven waited, because what's holy cannot be thrown to swine. This delay was not punishment, it was protection. If the blessing had landed too soon, the blueprint would have been stolen, copied, and sold as someone else's masterpiece. You prayed for acceleration. God gave you security. It wasn't about speed, it was about synchronization. Heaven was aligning the right people into your orbit, those whose loyalty won't crack under the weight of your elevation. Some had to be exposed before you rose, because not every smiling face can handle the glare of your spotlight. There were gatekeepers, covert ones, people who secretly decided what doors you could enter, what stages you could stand on, what opportunities you were ready for. They thought they controlled your access. But heaven let the delay collapse their influence, so when the door opens, no man will be able to shut it. This was also a test of covenant integrity. Time revealed who only stood with you in the storm, because it kept you from rising. Those who quietly rooted for your stagnation disqualified themselves while you waited. The delay was a surgical removal of spiritual parasites, because breakthroughs feed more than just you. They feed whatever is attached to you, for better or for worse, and heaven would not let the flow begin until every leech was cut loose. Blessings require a clean atmosphere. Negativity and unbelief are like mold in the walls, invisible at first, but deadly if left to grow. This delay has been a purification, a clearing of the climate you're about to live in. Familiarity can sabotage authority. Some people have grown too comfortable with your weakness, too adjusted to your vulnerability. If they remained, they would unconsciously pull you back to who you used to be. The delay dissolved those bonds, so you can step into authority without anchors on your ankles. God was also making space for divine replacements, those heaven-approved partnerships that protect, multiply, and shield your blessing, are not found in a rush. The longer road allowed them to arrive before the breakthrough landed in your lap. And finally, your narrative. If the wrong voices stayed, they would rewrite your story, make themselves the hero of your testimony. So heaven kept you hidden until your circle was purged, ensuring that when you speak, the story will be told exactly as God wrote it. You felt it, the sudden spike, the pressure so intense it steals your breath. This isn't random, it's the pre-breakthrough pressure principle in motion. When you're inches from the finish line, the enemy throws his last and loudest punch, hoping to make you stop running when victory is one step away. Hell is loudest when it knows it's about to lose you. That's not a theory, it's a law in the spirit realm. And right now, the volume in your life is proof you're closer than you think. Because here's the truth, enemy's intelligence, intercept, is real. Dark forces sense a heavenly dispatch before you even see the envelope. They can't read the exact details, but they can smell the movement in the unseen. The moment heaven authorizes your release, the enemy rushes in not to destroy the blessing, but to disrupt your readiness to receive it. So they move to jam the signal. Attacks get louder. Emotions get heavier. Relationships start sparking with unnecessary conflict. Why? Because if they can cloud your mind, you might miss the prophetic download God is sending. Static isn't just noise, it's a weapon. And then comes the final gate examination. Not every blessing is about getting through the gate. Sometimes it's about proving you can carry the weight once you're inside. So heaven allows the last pressure wave, not as punishment, but as confirmation. If you can stand now, you can stand when the responsibility multiplies. But the warfare is precise. It's not sloppy. This spike is surgical targeting of your weak points. The exact area you've been patching up in the secret place. That's where the arrows are flying. Not to destroy you, but to reveal whether the repair work has truly sealed. And watch out for distractor deployment. Sudden, urgent crises designed to pull your eyes from the place heaven is speaking. The enemy doesn't need you to sin, he just needs you to look away long enough to miss the instructions. If you're wondering why this season feels so intense, it's because you are a threat. The size of the storm is a direct measurement of the size of your future impact. No one burns this much fuel on an irrelevant target. But there's more. The surge is also covenant confirmation. It's a counterfeit announcement from hell itself, saying, "We know you're about to rise." They can sense the signature of God's promise being restamped over your life. Sometimes, heaven condenses years of tests into a final acceleration burst. It feels like everything is hitting at once, but it's to fast-track your maturity, so when the blessing lands, you're not just ready, you're unstoppable. And then, the transfer, spiritual jurisdiction shift. The moment the prophetic word is delivered, authority changes hands in the unseen. The enemy fights harder because they're about to lose legal ground over territory that will soon carry your name in heaven's registry. Chosen one. The storm's chaos is not proof of God's absence. It's the sign you're standing on the border of your promised land. The higher God takes you, the thinner the air becomes. Not everyone can breathe there. Some connections will gasp, choke, and quietly fall away. This is not rejection, it's survival. Altitude requires separation. The climb was never meant to be crowded. Your spirit has shifted frequencies. You are not who you were last season. What used to resonate now feels hollow. And those still tuned to the OLD wavelength sense the change, but can't name it. Their discomfort is proof you've outgrown the room. The new realm speaks a different language. Prayers sound sharper. Discernment runs deeper. Conversations that once thrilled you now feel empty. Because heaven has enrolled you in a vocabulary upgrade. He is teaching you the dialect of your next assignment. Revelation, this rare cannot be handed out in public squares. Crowded rooms leak divine blueprints. So heaven builds a private delivery zone, walls of isolation wrapped around you like a vault. It's not loneliness, it's classified access. Being misunderstood is part of the design. God lets the opportunists misread you. They think you're losing relevance. In reality, He's protecting the purity of what's being birthed. What they cannot comprehend, They cannot corrupt. Elevation dismantles your addiction to human approval. When the crowd stops clapping, you are forced to hear the applause of one. And that's when your worth anchors into the unshakable. The static is clearing. Wrong voices have been cut from your frequency. The clutter in your spirit is gone. Now, when heaven speaks, the line is crystal clear. No interference, no distortion, just divine signal. Your rank is changing. In the spirit, your insignia has been updated. Old roles no longer fit, and isolation gives you time to grow into the new armor, without the tug of past expectations pulling you backward. Solitude is no accident. Leaders of higher realms carry weights no one else can touch. This season is your rehearsal for that weight. To stand alone, to decide without counsel, to move without applause, and still know you are aligned with destiny. And sometimes, God hides you in plain sight. Your name may be whispered, your face may fade from certain circles, but this is strategic concealment. By the time He unveils you, the work will be complete. Your authority untouchable, your position beyond sabotage. This isolation was not a pause. It was the secret construction site for the you who will walk out of the storm crowned, armored, and unstoppable. You've been asking why God hasn't sent you back yet, why the door stays shut to the place you know is tied to your destiny. It's not because you're forgotten, it's because Heaven has been running the re-entry permission test. They had to see, would you go back the same way you left? Would you carry the same compromises, the same blind spots, the same soft spots the enemy once exploited? Or would you walk in with a new spine, a new voice, a new authority? Because the place that pushed you out will not be the same when you return, and you cannot step back into old soil with old habits. This is humility under memory pressure. God will send you back where the betrayal happened, where the whispers started, where they looked you in the face and told you you weren't enough. And you'll have to walk in without the sword of revenge in your hand. Only humility opens that gate. The kind of humility that comes from knowing the vindicator stands behind you, and you have nothing to prove. And here's the warning. The storm was never just pain. It was resistance as rank verification. Familiar enemies will test you again. Familiar spirits will circle you again. But this time your response will prove you're not tied to the place, you're tied to the commissioning. Your rank in heaven, not your acceptance on earth. Every territory has gatekeepers. Not all of them are human. This is spiritual border crossing. The storm was your passport, your clearance code. Without it, the land would spit you out again. With it, you step in carrying legal authority, recognized in both realms. But you couldn't cross over with contaminated emotions. That's why this was emotional immunity calibration. Because if offense still stings, if bitterness still burns, the assignment could be infected from within. The storm burned it out of you. And when you walk back in, you'll carry prophetic credibility. Not a title, not a platform, but scars that speak louder than any introduction. The storm is your proof. Your endurance is your certificate. Even your enemies will have to admit God's hand is on you. But even with readiness, the place itself had to be prepared. This is alignment with heaven's timing. The storm wasn't just about you. It was about shifting hearts, rearranging systems, so when you arrive, the ground is fertile. And your authority? It had to be rooted in stewardship, not in vindication. God had to know you wouldn't rule just to settle old scores, but to shepherd the land for His glory. There were also legal claims to break. Old accusations, old agreements, invisible chains tying you to your past there. The storm shredded every document the enemy held against you. And when you return, you become a demonstration of kingdom justice, a living prophecy that Heaven redeems, that God restores, that the very places which rejected His chosen will one day have to make room for them at the head of the table. You've been wondering why the air feels thick, why the weight seems heavier right before the light breaks through. This is not random. This is the exit resistance. When a spirit knows its eviction notice has been served, it thrashes, it presses, it tries to make you think it's moving in when it's actually being pushed out. That heaviness you feel, it's not settling, it's leaving, but it will try to leave claw marks on your soul if you let it. And here's the warning. The enemy loves the false ownership illusion. He whispers, "This is just who you are. You've always been this way." But that's a lie wrapped in memory. That's not identity, it's intrusion. Do not sign for what heaven did not send. It's why the turbulence feels like withdrawal shock. Like an addict cut off from its supply. That spirit is desperate to taste your agreement one more time. It sends emotional waves. Fear, sadness, rage, hoping you'll take the bait, hoping you'll welcome it back like an old friend. And then comes the last-minute covenant renewal attempt. It's subtle. A thought here, a careless word there. The heaviness offers you fear to speak, guilt to dwell in, hopelessness to rehearse. Because every time you say it, you renew what God is trying to cancel. The reason it's so loud right now is because you're on the brink of a divine revelation. The moment of liberation is often paired with instruction. The enemy can't stop the deliverance, so it clouds your spiritual vision, hoping you'll miss the coordinates heaven is trying to hand you. Look closely at your atmosphere. This is the atmosphere contamination test. It will plant discouragement like seeds in conversations. It will stir discord in your home. It wants residue to linger after it's gone, so that you unknowingly create an invitation for it to return. And this weight? It's not aimless. It's the energy drain strategy. It aims for your prayer life. It dulls your worship. It makes opening your Bible feel like climbing a mountain, because those are the very weapons that secure its defeat. Right before you cross into your authority, it will launch an identity reversal attempt. It will whisper, "You're too weak for this. You're not ready." It wants to rewrite the narrative in your own mind. So you step into your promise, feeling unworthy. But there's another layer, containment of influence. If it can keep you silent now, if it can make you withdraw instead of testify, it can limit the chain reaction your breakthrough was meant to trigger in others. And yet, here is the prophetic paradox. The heaviness itself is confirmation. The shaking is proof. The very fact that it's pressing this hard means it knows its legal hold has expired. It's flailing because your liberation is inevitable. Hold your ground. Heaven has already stamped the release order. The storm is breaking, and the enemy knows it. You don't just survive a storm like this. You are reforged in its fire. It doesn't only burn away the weakness, it forges new strength into your bones. Strength that wasn't there before. Strength you didn't even know you would need. This was not just about holding on. This was about transformation. The version of you that's emerging now is not the same one that entered. You've shifted from survivor to strategist. Before you were reacting. Now, you're anticipating. You've learned the patterns of warfare. You've studied the enemy's moves without even knowing you were studying. And now your steps are deliberate. Each one calculated, each one led by the Spirit. Your authority has been upgraded, not in title, but in spiritual rank. When you pray now, it carries a weight in the unseen. When you speak, atmospheres respond. Even hell can feel the change in your tone. Pressure has rewired your responses. What once sent you spiraling now sends you seeking. What once made you anxious now makes you alert. Your calm under fire is no longer fragile. It is forged, unshakable, the kind of calm that unnerves those who expected you to break. And your values? They've been reordered. No more wasting breath on the trivial. No more giving your energy to battles that have no eternal weight. Now, your hunger is for what cannot be shaken, for the things that last beyond time, for the treasures heaven recognizes. In the middle of the storm, something else happened. You unlocked gifts you didn't know you had, gifts that were dormant until necessity dragged them out of hiding. Wisdom under pressure, discernment in chaos. A prophetic edge you didn't train for, but heaven prepared in you long before you were born. And now, your sight is sharper. Your discernment is battle-tested. You don't need a long explanation to know what's wrong in a room. You can feel it. You can see it. You can sense the hidden agenda behind the smile, the spiritual atmosphere behind the conversation. Your covenant with God has gone deeper, no longer surface prayers and Sunday-only faith. You've walked with Him through nights without sleep, days without clarity, moments when His voice was the only thing keeping you from collapse. That intimacy marks you visible to heaven as a seal of belonging, and visible to hell as a warning. This one cannot be touched without divine permission. End of quote. Now, your life is aligned. Fewer distraction, more precision. Every step you take is aimed at your assignment. Every choice is weighed against your destiny. And when the clouds part, when the rain finally stops, you may not even recognize yourself. But heaven will, hell will, and those who thought they knew you will see a reflection they can't explain. Because storms don't just change what you do, they reveal who you were always meant to be. The ending of a storm is not the end of your preparation. It is the beginning of your capacity test. Because blessings have weight, they press down, they stretch, they demand more space inside you than the storm ever did. If your spirit has not grown to match the size of the promise, What you prayed for could crush you instead of crown you. This is why heaven has been expanding you quietly, stretching your patience, deepening your endurance, strengthening your faith so your foundation won't crack when the weight comes. And hear me, this is not about possession. This is about stewardship. A blessing is not something you hold, it's something you manage. It must be guarded from thieves, protected from corruption, and channeled into the flow of kingdom purpose. Because in God's economy, a gift is never just for you. It is a seed meant to feed nations. But seeds only thrive in the right soil. Your breakthrough will require atmosphere maintenance. If you let bitterness creep back in, if you allow unbelief to whisper unchecked, if you invite chaos into your space, the very thing you fought for can wither in your hands. This is why God has been teaching you to guard your gates, your ears, your eyes, your spirit. And yes, answered prayers come with covenant accountability. The promises you made to God in the midnight hour, the vows you whispered through tears, He remembers them, He will hold you to them. Because the storm was not just survival training, it was a contract signing in the courts of heaven. When you rise, your relationships will shift. This is the relational recalibration. Elevation changes social gravity. Some will be drawn to your light, others will come to drain it. You must discern between those sent to build the vision and those sent to sabotage it under the disguise of support. And when the blessing arrives, it must fit the you who endured the storm, not the you who entered it. This is identity integration. If you try to wear the crown with your old mindset, you'll sabotage yourself before the enemy even lifts a hand. Be aware blessings have hidden costs: time, focus, visibility, even warfare. Some doors God opens will require you to fight battles you never faced before, which means you must be ready for opposition preparedness. The higher you rise, the clearer you appear on the radar of hell. And remember, this is not about displaying your victory as a trophy. This is about multiplication. A blessing is proof you can now produce. What you hold must be planted, multiplied, and turned into fruit others can eat from. Because the storm ending is not the finish line. It is the starting line of decades of stewardship. This is the endurance call, the long game, the faithful walk, where you not only survive the storm, you reign after it. Chosen one. God said, the storm in your life is almost over.